Call the meeting to order, the Oxford Downtown Development Authority, September 16th at 7 p.m. Please rise and pay your respect to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Kathy, do you do the roll call, please?
Sure. Schultz.
Here.
Charles excused. Powers.
Here.
Colvin here. Clark.
Here.
Knaus. Here. Nicosia.
Here.
Piper.
Here.
And Taylor.
Here.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
I know. We haven't had this many people in a while.
I know, it's been great. Public comment on non-agenda items? Seeing none. The consent agenda, we could have the approval of tonight's proposed agenda, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed agenda.
I'll second.
Been moved by Colvin, seconded by Powers to approve the agenda. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the same thing? Motion passed. The approval of the meeting, August 24th meeting minutes, the police report, and the code enforcement report.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 24 meeting minutes, the police report, and the code enforcement report as filed.
Second.
It's been moved by Powers and seconded by Colvin. Any other questions on it? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. And financials?
Is it 51?
No, it's on,
I can't read that.
I know, I never could get the right number.
right there.
Okay. I'll make a motion to accept the financial report as filed in the amount of, it's too small, $12,193.33.
I'll second.
Been moved by Powers, supported by Colvin. Any questions? Roll call, please.
Powers.
Yes.
Clark.
Yes.
Knaus.
Yes.
Nicosia.
Yes.
Piper.
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Colvin, yes. And Schultz.
Yes. Thank you. DD reports. Work committee, the work committee did not meet this month. Everybody couldn't get together and wasn't any agenda items, so it was not held this month. EV committee report.
It says none. It says none.
Man, I see that
Same thing with EB this
they
month.
didn't meet either, so, okay. Promo committee.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep, we did meet. It was mainly focused on the Scarecrow Fest that's up and coming. Lots of organization for that. The Scarecrow competition that's coming up for to line the streets and that, we're hoping, putting a push out there for the business owners to participate. Let's see, the cornhole, we discussed how like our fall, or how our summer events went, and it was very, very positive. I know I went several times to the cornhole and got people's feedback, and everyone just raved about it. And the line dancing and the Wine Down Wednesday, we tried that, it was great. So I think all in all, you really got people out and into the community. Let's see. We did touch a little bit on Witches Night, but we're really focused on the Scarecrow Festival right now. It's going to be a really great event. So that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, if I could just add just a couple of things. We did chat a little bit about Oktoberfest and Fall Decor, and both of those things took place Friday and Saturday this past week. We had 30 volunteers come out for fall decor and some new folks that have never volunteered with us before, which was really nice to see. If you haven't seen the truck in Washington Square, it's beautiful. People have already been getting their family photos, which is nice. The other thing is Oktoberfest went off really great. We had a couple of walk-ups to purchase tickets if they hadn't purchased in advance. And then for Witches Night, for the first year, we were able to get a sponsor on the overall part of Witches Night, which is really neat to see because we can just use it for advertising, and I just placed all of the advertising this week. So you'll see it starting to get teased out in the paper with Scarecrow Fest and then on its own after the fact. Leanne, do you want to just touch on the race portion of Scarecrow Fest, just because you've been doing so great with signups?
For sure. We're about just over 50 signups so far between the 1 mile and the 5K. We don't have any little kids yet, so we're hoping some folks will sign up with the kids. But we are expecting 300. That would be kind of growth from the last 2 years. So, and typically with these smaller, local races, people wait till the week of and the day of, see what the weather's going to be like and everything. So we think we can still get there, and everything else is kind of moving along nicely, so we're excited.
Yep, you will see an advertisement in the paper on Wednesday with that QR code where people can sign up for the race. So we do think that that will probably help signups as well. Our partner on the race is Hotworks. So even though they're outside of the district, they really wanted to be involved this year. So it's really nice to see some partners come from outside of the district and really get involved in our events. We also did sell out completely for Scarecrow Fest sponsorships, with the most that we've ever had before, with Oxford Bank taking on the title sponsor. But we have a ton of new businesses sponsoring. I mean, I just had to go and print 30 sponsorship signs because we had 30 sponsors for this event. And we are at over 60 vendors that are now paid. So thank goodness we're shutting down Burdick Street because we're going to need a place to put them. So it's we also got asked to add a cornhole tournament. So I think that this brings out maybe people that don't even have kids to enjoy the event. And then we're going to partner with some of the breweries on wristbands that will get them discounts on drinks and hopefully drive traffic into those businesses as well.
And I'd be happy to share the registration link with anybody if you want to share it on your personal pages, business pages, because that's the first event of the day. So I mean, if we can get 300 people down here right from the get-go and they bring their family and friends, it's just a great crowd to introduce to the day.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Design Committee.
I wasn't there, Kelly, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay. So Design Committee, we went over Christmas, which is hard to believe that we're already talking about Christmas, but I have a planned meeting with Excel next week to go over lights and everything that comes with that. We also went over all of the fall decor because it did take place the week prior to all of our fall decorating and the truck and things like that. So that was a big part of the meeting. We do anticipate quite a few grants coming in for signage, just because we've had some new businesses in town and also other businesses moving around downtown. So we think that that'll come in for this next meeting. And then we did discuss a project for Christmas to enhance the experience for Soup and Sweet Stroll and do a festival of trees this year, where we would set up 7.5-foot artificial trees in the park lit, and then have the businesses come in and sponsor each tree and do their own decor. We got really good reception and feedback from the design committee, so we're hoping that once we push that out as a sponsorship opportunity, they would stay up in the park for the remainder of the season, but it would also get people hopefully downtown taking pictures, not just on Soup and Sweet Stroll, but throughout the Christmas season, coupled with the rooftop lighting and then how the windows are decorated downtown. We really do feel like we'll be able to pull more people in. And that was it.
Marie?
Kelly, so those trees would replace the ones that were individually at the businesses last
So
year?
we would do, the businesses would still be able to utilize those trees if they wanted to. We were not gonna ask for those back, but we wanted to do something in the park to try to draw more people in town? What could we think of that is not just a one-night thing like Soup and Sweet Stroll, where maybe people would come out and take individual pictures with or enjoy the park and walk around and things like that?
Great. Any other questions on that? Very good. Executive Director's Report.
I already gave you all the info. So we were able to place 3 additional businesses downtown. So with our relationships and with people reaching out to the DDA, when they're either starting a business or looking for new space, we were able to put pieces together and get 3 more businesses downtown where Modern Marketplace decided to, condense their space. I was in Wild and Rooted today with Heather. She's been trying to come down for just a couple of years now. And so as soon as that space came up, we were like, this is perfect. I walked in today, I'm like, okay, did you work all night? And she goes, yes, literally. And it's beautiful. So if you haven't been in there, that one, Scott's Toys on the corner there, and then Cassandra and Co. that moved in the front. I mean, it's just really amazing what they've done with the spaces, and Les Thomas has been great to work with and helped with all the walls and the construction to take that cost out off the businesses, which has really been wonderful. We've been working a lot with the new Fatouche restaurant over here. Wes is wonderful. Him and his dad just opened last month. And we've been really trying to work with them on their posts and social media and things like that, letting people know that they're here because they're not from the area. They come all the way from Dearborn and Canton every day to operate the restaurant. So we're excited to have them in our community as well. We worked with Oakland County on the continued ARPA funding and all the reporting that goes into this with the projects. It's a lot of work on my office and on my side with me and Kimberly, and Pete's been involved, but just making sure that everything is coordinated and we're keeping really good track since it is a federal grant. We also worked with Thrive through Oakland County to set up a digital class for businesses that's coming up next week, and that's free to our businesses. And then Decorated for Fall, like we talked about, Oktoberfest, vendors, Cornhole League wrapped up. And then we also were able to put Eric from the county in touch with a few more of our businesses to get them set up on OC Main Street, which is our e-commerce platform. And so that's been doing really, really well. And there's a big push for Downtown Business Day, which is coming up on September 28th. And I'm excited to see how many people we can get out here for that, and then also online to shop as well. So very busy month, but honestly, nothing's changed, right? I did put in there too, the event lineup for Scarecrow Fest if you haven't seen it. And then Lake Orion was nice enough to let me copy off them, but I was able to use their format and do a fall event and a winter event. So you'll see the Polar Expresses on there. Our Christmas market this year is going to be hosted at the dealership inside. So we're going to do the Polar Express to the dealership. Santa's going to be there. So that's really nice that everything will be inside. There are some vendors that we were hoping to get in the past that just couldn't make it outside for the 3 hours. So we're excited that it's an inside market this year, and it's also different from the high school's big craft show that they do, which it was on the same day last year. So we think that we'll get even more folks out this year.
Very good.
What are the times for the Christmas market?
So I didn't put any times on there yet. Last year it was 10 to 3.
Okay.
And that we ran 8 rides for the Polar Express on the trolley that day.
Very good. Unfinished oral business, 8A, ARPA funding.
So just wanted to give an update on their village council did approve us to use their SAM number last week, so we were able to get everything signed and back over to Main Street. It is waiting for Dave Woodward's signature now that it has ours, but I communicated with them today and they said no problem, it'll get signed this week. The nice thing is we're able to receive 75% of our money up front, and then we can utilize the rest, which we had $204,000 budgeted for this project. And then the 134 will come from the ARPA funding. So crosswalks are first on the agenda, which we'll discuss later on tonight. But we'll be investing over $300,000 back into our downtown, which is huge.
Very good. Any questions? All right, and then moving right on to 8B, which is the crosswalks.
You want to talk about this one?
I can.
I'll have to catch my breath.
We took the crosswalk design to or actually we had a conceptual plan drawn up by Sharp Engineering. We took that and presented it to the village council. The village council discussed it, and they approved us going ahead and doing the crosswalks on East Burdick and West Burdick. West side will be at Hudson Street, and east side will come across right where the crosswalk comes out next to Creative Embroidery and go across to the driveway on the north side. It'll include, or it includes curb cuts, putting in the actual ADA ramps with a bumpy thing on it that they have to have for it there, and then whatever sidewalk repair that needs to be done right immediately to it. And then also, then as part of our contract, we are including having the crosswalk painted on the road, so that part of it will take place. And the one thing differently we're doing at the Hudson Street intersection, the entire intersection will be X'd across, because then we want everybody coming both directions to realize, and obviously with that much paint on the road coming through, that, you know, hopefully it slows people down, draws their attention to the point that this, you know, this is a crosswalk to, you know, pay attention. As part of that, there are also signs that will be at both sides with the, you know, the lime green or yellow sign, whatever it is, with the, you know, arrow pointing down saying crosswalk on it and everything on both sides, so that they'll, you know what's coming into it. The plans from Sharp Engineering were turned in, and Joe forwarded them on to Rowe Engineering. Rowe Engineering will put the actual request for proposals out to get them posted. They will also do the cost analysis and everything to begin with, so we know exactly how much the project's going to cost, so we have a good estimate on that. And then they will get the cost back for us and go out to bid. It's after some communication, it's looking like the time frame is not going to work out, because by the time he gets the drawings together, by the time to get it put out, get it back, gets our costs, you know, gets approved by us, and then also awarding the bids takes us almost to December. So obviously we're not going to be pouring concrete in December or painting at that time. So hopefully it would go out to bid then right after the first of the year, and then at that time we would be able to have it as far as, you know, immediately spring project to move forward. Also with that, we're looking at part of the scope of the project of the ARPA funding also was doing the sidewalks on Burdick Street, east and west, which would include replacing the brick paver portion of it. That's all uneven. Some places drop down 2 to 3 inches, so it's trip hazards. Some of the sidewalks are cracked and organ, they've, you know, heat to settle down, whatever. Where there's used to be the old ginkgo trees that were cut down, now they'll leave those wells there with the brick pavers, which are very uneven. So as part of the project, I talked to Rowe with the email today to let him take a look at that, and if we could possibly include that with our crosswalk project going into next year, which would get us a better price, hopefully, to make it worthwhile for a bidder to come out and bid on it, because the sidewalk portion of it for the crosswalk was rather minute is what it was going to take. So hopefully if we can have them both combined and get a better price out of both of them, you know, for a spring project. So as soon as he can put that one together, then we would have to take that sidewalk portion of it to the village council to get their approval on it ahead of time before we, you know, go up to that. So hopefully we should hear from them in the next 30 days as far as give us a estimate as far as what the original crosswalk portion will cost, and that way we can have something as far as budgetary going forward to know where we stand. Any questions?
This sidewalk portion is the ARPA funding as well?
Correct.
Okay.
Joe's got a question.
Oh, Joe.
So, yeah, and I think you mentioned an email about Paul, maybe looking at it. He is going to be here, we have a pre-construction meeting with BSI Asphalt for the East Burdick Street project.
Okay.
We'll be meeting at 8:30 community room, then probably about 9:30 be out on the site, looking at some measuring and marking some pavements to get our plan together for that project.
Tomorrow?
Next, 2 weeks from tomorrow.
24th.
24th. So maybe around 10 o'clock, he might be able to just walk up the street and look at that area as well.
Perfect.
I know he's already going to be here, so
I can meet
he's
him.
already going to be out on East Burdick. I'm not sure what timeline and crunch he's got to get finished up and get out of here, but that's
That'll
a
work.
good window to check with him.
Yep, okay. Very good. Any questions on that or anything? All right. Yep. New business, the Edison Alley orphaned parcel. Mr. Bedore.
That was my terminology. I got a different name for it, started with a B, but probably didn't want to. So, working with Journey Lutheran down there with the differences in what's on the books, what's on the county, what the titles and everything says, we're trying to clear up a lot of the old parcels that where Journey Lutheran is at 136 South there, and they own all these people Pearl Street. They were trying to get all their 4 or 5 parcels combined into one parcel just for simplicity reasons. They're gonna end up with 2 parcels because the back part of their parking lot, those portions out on Pearl Street are on the outside of the boundaries of the DDA. The DDA boundary goes along Edison Alley there. You can't have parcels that straddle the DDA boundary line. So we'll get them down to 2 parcels, but throughout the whole process, we're now redoing our legal definition, legal description of Edison Alley. And through that process, Mr. Kennedy, who was looking at, or doing a survey, came across that one parcel on the map highlighted in yellow that for some reason is in the DDA's name. I can only speculate that maybe when they were doing the Edison Alley project, they needed that parcel, or maybe it was already their name, or maybe they needed it, didn't have the money, the DDA stepped in and bought it. I don't know, I didn't check on it. But it's just odd that this parcel is surrounded by, it's the travel lane of Edison Alley. So while we're in the process of clearing ours up and get a new legal description to get this all cleared, I thought it'd be best to transfer that parcel into this larger Edison Alley parcel, but it's in the DDA's name, so you guys have to bless that. So if not, it'll remain the way it is, we'll have a different legal description, but I figured, why not clean it up? I have no history of when it was purchased, like, or why it's in that name.
I don't recall during that time as far as the DDA purchasing property for that. But I don't know if that came from the property owner that was there and that's how he decided to donate. I'm not sure. I know the DDA was kind of the headed up the entire project and putting that together with the village at the time. So, good question. Any comments, questions? Thoughts?
So is the rest of this alley, it's all in village name already?
Yeah.
It's just this one little spot?
Yeah. Do you know what approximately size?
No. I just highlighted the boundaries of the aerial. I didn't measure how many acres, how many square feet it is or anything, I did not. I just figured the picture's worth 1,000 words. With that approach.
If, in order to make this happen, would have to have a correct survey on there then obviously to get your boundaries and everything?
Yeah, because what he would more than likely, Mr. Kennedy, when he does these, he was actually physically doing a new survey out there. You'll see the stakes, if you've been down there in the last couple of months, you'll see stakes along the back of those businesses on
Mhm.
24.
Property lines.
That's why. Sometimes they'll just take legal descriptions and say it includes parcel B and roll that in right with it. But I think at this time, he's trying to just avoid that and use the corner marks of that parcel and create one big legal description for the alley, so it doesn't have one legal description there and one legal description there that make up the alley.
And the village would be paying for the survey on that?
Yeah, we're already in paying for it already. It was a real strange setup. If you looked at the Oakland County aerial, it shows that the village owns south of that half circle, semicircle there, down through the church parking lot, down through there where there's playground equipment, is all the way down to the Marketplace Mall. That's what the county showed, that we own that. Then the church did some digging around and they said they come up some deeds, so they own the alley. So, trying to clear up a lot of stuff.
Interesting.
The church separated out, us separated away.
Is there any future consideration to using this property in some way, or is it just strictly
No,
an alley, a roadway?
It's purely an alley roadway. And again, and this particular portion is a good chunk of the asphalt road service area. already. We do get MDOT Act 51 gas tax money on Edison Alley because it's a public street. So that's already incorporated in all that. It's just odd to me that came up.
Jacob?
I had spoken with someone about this, and they had mentioned that at one point in time, they were looking at diverting traffic off of Main Street down beyond these businesses. And so I think that might have been what part of the thought was there, is at one point of kind of separating a lot of these parcels out.
Yeah, and the north side of the church property, along their driveway, there's a 20-foot, like an easement or a parcel along there, that was gonna be part of that. They were gonna divert traffic away from downtown, but it didn't go very far, I understand. But that's part of the whole underlying issue, trying to work out as well.
That would be, yeah, it's actually right on the edge of the church parking lot or their driveway right there between there and that other house. It's actually almost not wide enough for an actual street.
Right.
And that, so it was non-conforming at that point, so that's why they kind of went away from it. Then at the same time was who was gonna pay for it, and nobody wanted to pay for it at the time, so that's why it never went any farther. Any thoughts, questions?
See any issue with
Is there a monetary amount to that?
We'll sell it to you for $1 million.
We will cover the cost of the surveying and treating of the property split and filing it with the county. The modest cost, we'll probably only have like $200 for it.
It'd be better than EDA putting up a fence and keep.
We got feedback from gas.
Could be our cornhole,
I was thinking about our
road.
little sheds, our incubator sheds, you
Yeah,
know,
right there on this piece.
about $10,000 at least.
Yeah.
Oh, we just leave it out as.
I see no benefit in having a parcel of land there.
It seems like more like a liability, just
Mhm.
sitting there in the middle of the street.
Entertain a motion or?
I'll make a motion to transfer the Edison Alley orphaned parcel into the village name.
Second.
Been moved by Colvin, supported by Goss. Are there any questions, comments? Roll call?
Taylor,
Yes.
Piper,
Yes.
Nicosia,
Yes.
Knopf,
Yes.
Clark,
Yes.
Powers,
Yes.
Colvin, yes, and Schultz.
Yes.
Thank you. I'll let Kennedy know. Proceed.
With a side note of how cooperative the DDA was.
Yeah, in relinquishing
Making this
the
happen.
property.
Well, I'll let council know that, he doesn't care. He just wants to know, how do you want to draw?
Yep. Very good. 9B, the most highlighted part of our agenda this evening, is our strategic plan report.
I don't want to say I didn't know what scrap plan was when I thought on the agenda, about it.
Really?
I just, strategic plan, I just glanced at it real quick.
Oh, I wish.
Good evening, and great to see everyone again. And my name is Christina Shepherd-Ducius, for the record. I'm with Powell Strategies and had the privilege of meeting with you and your volunteers a little while ago now. I think we're, about a month and a half or so back, and appreciate your patience. I know that August is kind of a busy time, so it was kind of hard to get everything done and in. But we are ready with a draft, and what I'll say going into this is to remember that with a strategic plan, it is really taking your vision and some of your bigger goals and narrowing that down, giving you a focus for 3 to 5 years, and making sure that it is not getting into the weeds of how you're going to do it, but really that bigger overall goal and vision and the metrics that would be needed. So, and a lot of that I go through. Let's see. Okay, you're not moving.
Here you go.
Did it go? Oh, no. Okay, sorry, it is my son's computer, sorry. I have to say, I don't know exactly how his works compared to mine, so. But as I was mentioning with the strategic plan, you know, we took the time to look at your vision and your mission and core values, and doing a SWOT analysis of really what your needs and priorities are. And from there, then it is boiling it down into a prioritization that gives you that 3 to 5 year picture and metrics and a timeline to be able to achieve it. And what I will say at the end of, after this presentation, you'll also receive a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet that will put all this in line, so then you can use it down the road. You can modify timelines as things adjust. Because I know in this world they do. Sometimes they get faster and sometimes they get a little slower. So couple things I wanted to mention first is we worked on your mission statement. Your mission statement, your current one is on the left here. And then I took a little stab at just enhancing what you have. So the Oxford DDA fosters a vibrant downtown by preserving heritage, stimulating strategic growth, and enriching the community experience for its residents, visitors, and businesses. And when we're developing a mission, we want to make sure people understand what the organization does. What is it that you do? Who do you do it for? And why do you do it? So hopefully that captures it, just gives it a little bit more, sometimes a few more words that you have to say, unfortunately. But I always like to have it short and sweet too. Sometimes they become a little bit too long. So core values. We talked about core values being those defining elements that help you make decisions, right? They guide your behaviors, as well as help to set really your vision in place. Those top 3 ones that elevated to in the meeting were community, fun, entertaining, because those were kind of pulled together, and welcoming. The other ones on the bottom were still very high, and elements that you might want to consider when a project or a program comes to your table and ask whether or not you should be supporting it, right? So think about these key core values when making your decisions. Then we moved on to your vision and looking at what those core pillars are for your vision. And you'll start to see, obviously, kind of some similarities coming through in the vernacular, but small town feel definitely was one of your big top ones. Strategic growth, walkable, and historic. And I think what you'll see then from here really emulates that vision. I threw that into a vision statement, nice and quick and sweet, so that way when you're out in the public, you can talk to people about it. So downtown Oxford, where historic small town charm meets strategic growth for a walkable, welcoming, and vibrant destination. That's your vision, right? It's simple, it's sweet. You don't have to get into all the details because a lot of times you don't have the time to do it. You have maybe 15 seconds or 30 seconds to be able to talk to someone about what it is that you're looking to achieve, what your organization does to do it, and then specifically what's the ask that you're asking them. I did make a little bit of a longer one just to kind of give you some fluff if you want to be able to put into a website. But you can always kind of meld this and refine this as you see fit as well. Moving on to your organization pillars for your vision, and this is really talking about the organization itself internally. How are we working? Where do we see the organization going? And a couple of, I don't know why this keeps coming up. I'm so sorry. It's like, go away. There we go. Innovative, passionate, collaborative, engaged, long-standing, authentic partnerships. And I think that really resonates as to who you are, what you're already achieving, but also to continue to strive to get better and better at all of that. I really see it in the things that you're doing and you know, your director, the passion that she puts in, as well as all of the volunteers. We have a lot of great volunteers, and to hear that you had 30 people out there helping decorate, that is awesome. Keep up the good work, and you know, keep building those partnerships. The more you do, the stronger you will be as an organization. I throw this one back in here. You may have remember this from our session, but it's always just a good reminder. What is the DDA's role in a community? And it is about improving the quality of life and creating that sense of place. And I think you guys do a great job with your events in creating that sense of place and your businesses. It's beautiful when you come into town. It's inviting, it's welcoming, and there's a lot of great places to go and see and to eat. As well as, obviously, those big investment dollars. So, right, even speaking of those ARPA funds, right? You're reinvesting that $300,000 into the downtown in order to spur more private investment around. Looking at your SWOT analysis, and this is the fun part. This is where we're brainstorming for thoughts and ideas in both your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, as well as the key assets. But then you also got a chance to vote on those. And this is what cropped up to the top. I think you'll see here that nothing's probably that surprising to you, because I think this comes through both in your TIF plan and a lot of your other documents and planning documents and conversations that I've heard, at least, to be some of those top areas. So a lot of people will probably bypass strengths, but I think strengths help to sell and really market your downtown. So take those into consideration when you're looking to pull together your marketing information. It is that sense of community. You have a great wealth of events that are attractive and pull people in. The collaborations that you already have with the township and your neighboring communities and your businesses is very strong. And a huge sense of pride. And I think there's a lot of, not only a sense of pride internally, but there's a lot of sense of pride externally of communities surrounding you that have wanted to hold you and hold you up when you most needed it during some very desperate times as well. And I think that continues on, that passion to be able to see that our neighbors are strong, right? Weaknesses. Not a surprise here, right? Truck traffic, walkability, and parking. Parking's always a big one for downtowns, no matter what. And then you do have a lot of great opportunities. Your trolleys could be going into the neighborhoods, connecting to the Pollyant Trail. And then, as you kind of see that, those are all related to vehicular or mobility movements, right? So again, as we kind of look at some of these threats as well, and the key assets, they all typically align. I'm going to move on just for the sense of time, and if anyone has a question about something that's up there, I can always go back. We then looked at your needs, and your physical, economic, social, and organizational needs do begin to align with what you're seeing in terms of that SWOT analysis as well. So again, crosswalks being a strong one, and increasing that walkability and the multimodal opportunities within your community. In terms of economics, reaching out to a larger market area, but I will get to this in a minute. You do have a very strong market already with the businesses and the neighbors to your community as it is, and it's, I think, building upon some of that. You have opportunities for assisting entrepreneurs and building potentially an incubator, and then socially, like looking at maybe a welcome center or a hub where people are getting the information that they need and connecting with your organization itself, creating more places for people to gather, and as well as you'll see that social connection with the social district along M24. Organizationally, absolutely, you're doing a lot of things with not a lot of staff, and you need more volunteers. Unfortunately, that's the plight of most nonprofit or DDA organizations, and you have to find ways to not just always operate on that shoestring with your staff and your volunteers, right? You gotta get more people in place. There's just not enough bodies, unfortunately, sometimes to do the work. And it does sometimes require more bodies. And then I think communication and administrative functions that could be improved or focused on to help to build some efficiencies. You expressed some key goals that you wanted to achieve, and I look at these and question them against your SWOT analysis and your needs analysis. And I think your top three absolutely do. And that's where you'll see that align then with your strategy. Your other ones become secondary because they might be strong as is, but they might need a little bit of work, right? So they might not be your largest strategy or things that you need to focus on at this point in time. I like to boil it down to usually 2 or 3 key strategies. So one being welcoming and walkable. Second one, strategic growth. And then the third one, sustainable. So touching on walkable and welcoming. First, starting off with a walkable M24. I know, I walked out there, get blown by a truck, right? I know that feeling. We want to help to not only create a safe space for people to walk, but an inviting space for people to walk. So creating that welcoming environment to do so. But there's a number of things that you could take a look at in order to improve it. One that you're already working on is those crosswalks. The second one that was discussed is, could we adjust our social district boundaries? And I'll get into that in a second. And then traffic signalization. I was actually surprised to see that there were not more signals coming into the district. And that is part of the traffic problem. You get that huge lineup going out a mile, and then everyone's sitting there and waiting, and then once the green light goes, they go as fast as they can to the next one. When you can actually signalize a little bit more and space out that traffic, give some appropriate gaps, you can really improve traffic flow. I've seen this happen in a lot of communities, unfortunately, that all are along highways on MDOT right away. And that's usually something that you'll have to take a look at and work on and take some time. But I believe that it's not necessarily slowing the traffic speed, it's shifting how much traffic is coming through at one time. Also, just as I had mentioned, enhancing and softening that environment out there and creating place-based experiences for people along that roadway. And I think that is very important. But just as important is your rear entries, because people are parking back there, and that is one of the easier ways that they're connecting and getting to businesses. So you definitely cannot ignore that at all. Moving on to multimodal connections. So again, going back to that Pollyant Trail, that is a great asset. Let's connect to it. Let's promote with it. How are we getting people to and from the downtown to the trail? Look at extending that trolley route into the neighborhoods if it's going to help your community get to your downtown more often. And I think that you have a good rate in terms of how frequently people come into town, but it could get better and it could get a lot stronger. And those are some of the ways that you could do that. Improving the walking and biking and the amenities that are needed, connecting your neighborhoods and your downtown, and then increasing bike facilities to go along with that. This one was like your bigger one, so just know that this is where a lot of your hard work is gonna be happening, right? So parking, and these are like big ticket items too. These aren't small ticket items and takes a lot of time to pull together. But conducting a real parking analysis, and then creating a wayfinding plan. Those would be two major projects to put onto your list. And then place-based experiences. I think you're already starting to do some of that, which is great to see and hear. But creating some connection with games and sporting activities, because this is what your community and surrounding communities love to do. They love to be active. They love to recreate. So create experiences that build it right into your downtown. And then kind of wrapping in that welcome center idea. If you can't do a full-on welcome center, just do a little hub, a little kiosk to start off with. You can start with small projects and kind of build on from there. A couple examples in terms of multimodal samples. Boulevards. I know that you had probably within like the last 4 or 5 years redid the street a little bit. So adding more things into it, like big physical things, may or may not be within the cards, but that traffic signalization would definitely be one of those things to look into. But boulevards, when you're seeing wide streets, boulevard opportunities help to make it more walkable for those crossing those wider streets, those faster feeling streets, even though it's really not necessarily super fast, it's just that it's heavy traffic that's coming through. But also just some fun ideas for creating walkable spaces and crosswalks. You can see there's like crayons, and we did this one in Dearborn, right, that's actually like the parking structures right there and a bunch of businesses over on the other side. So making sure that as people exited out of the parking structure that they weren't getting clipped by a car coming across, because a lot of people just ran out of that parking structure to go to the businesses. So things that help to draw people's attention is important. Let's find it. Pick up stuff. A couple other examples, multi-use paths. In terms of that multimodal opportunities. Also shared roads. So just as simply as marking roadways as meant for both bikes and cars. An opportunity that I saw by just looking at the map, this isn't anything like, hey, I laid this out. So please don't take that. But you could add some directional signage coming from the Polly Ann Trail and to and from, obviously, down into the district. Along, do you see it, Lark Street?
Yeah.
And then also that could be an area where it could be a marked shared roadway, because it is a little more residential, but it is somewhat commercial, right? So you've got some kind of mixed traffic coming through there. And then at an end point, creating a space where a lot of bikes can be parked in a fix-it station. So, don't just locate your fix-it stations on the trail, locate them in the downtown. So it gives people, just that other opportunity to be able to come into the area and know that they would be able to do it safely and with some help. Some great urban street design guidelines are there with NACTO, so you can always click on that link to go and check out more examples. Social district. So, we did find out from Ferndale as to, they have very similar situation, right? They have Woodward Avenue, M1, and when they originally created the social district, they created two boundary areas, and people could not cross over M1. A few layers later, they have amended that boundary, sent it back to the state for approval, and it was approved. So, while yes,
Okay.
while yes, there is in item 1, it says alcoholic liquor shall not be consumed on the public highways. When you're reading that, and you read a little bit more in-depthly, it's about motor vehicles not consuming on the highway, or parking on the side of the road and drinking on the side of the road. Okay, so I think that's where the difference is, and I think that you have a case study to be able to say, hey, you approved it in Ferndale, why not here? I would say, go forward, amend your boundaries, send it in, see what happens, right? And, you know, make sure on your end that you do not have anything that's prohibiting you to be able to, you know, have it in public places, on sidewalks, and they specifically said sidewalks. So I'll send you the language that they utilized in their ordinance for everything that, so.
Awesome.
Yes. Couple metrics for success with that, and I won't belabor on this, and this is where your work will have to come into it, is when you're looking at your strategies, and really what tells us that we succeeded in achieving these things. So, but I did throw in a couple things here, you know, increased foot traffic. Hey, you know, you can take a look and see even through Placer AI, are you increasing the number of people coming into town? That's increased foot traffic, right? Do you have bike racks that have been added? Have you added any wayfinding signage? Those would all be things that basically are saying, yep, we are achieving our goals here. I put this on a 1 to 5 year stretch because there are some big items in here, and just kind of giving you a feel for the timing for doing this, right? Quick, easy things. You're already doing the crosswalks. Get that social district boundary amendment done. Those are quick, easy. You can start to add in some outdoor seating activities and amenities, okay, a little bit more. And then work on your parking analysis and your wayfinding plan, and then go into your multimodal connections. So don't feel like you need to do everything all at once. Moving on to strategic growth, downtown living was definitely one of those top ones that came up. And there's a number of things in order to get downtown living going, but conducting a housing analysis, identifying key priorities, or properties, excuse me, for mixed-use development. And I always really emphasize that. Know where you want to put it, and tell people where you want them to put it. Don't wait for them to come to you. And you might have to conduct a site analysis to help with that development process. But then it's about educating and building potentially maybe some incentives in order to get that investment happening. What I can tell you, and every community will say this, is that why do we have to, you know, provide incentives for somebody to do a housing development or mixed-use development here? Well, guess what? To financially make it soluble, you need to. It's hard. It's hard as a developer. And, you know, a lot of people will coin a developer into like, oh, they're just gonna be making a bunch of money, but they can't get the financing. If they can't get the financing, you can't get a project. You need to help them get the financing, help them and build incentives in order to help fill the gaps. But those incentives can be strictly tied to what you want to see. That's the carrot, right? You get what you want out of that. Building out a market profile that you can put out there and work with developers and talk about these talking points and really targeting them. Next, moving on to entrepreneur growth. And you know, my feeling is that you don't have a lot of vacancy right now, which is a great thing, but let's be prepared for when there is a vacancy, right? Let's not sit idly by. So do make sure to do a business mix and product analysis. And I add in product because I think it's taking a look at that market information from the county as to where people are leaving to go. What are they buying?
You just happened with Eric.
Oh, good,
Yep.
good. And that's where it's like, okay, it's not just about the business, but what are businesses offering in terms of products? Is it really covering what you need? And then develop a recruitment and retention strategy. And I threw in retention because I think it's about retaining these great businesses that you already have and not losing them and making them hopefully lifelong businesses here. And coupling that, build out that market profile to help to really showcase your community and the successes that you have in place. And refining your business assistance program. did go to your business assistance program online and there was nothing there. So make sure you start to spend time on what is that. Even if it's just some of the networking events that you do, throw those up there. Start to, build that out and define how you're going to help businesses in the future. Not just those who are looking to locate, but those that you want to retain here. And then devise a plan for your incubators. I think the worst thing that I see is that people jump into incubators. So cool, exciting. It's a business. Please put together a business plan. You have DDA businesses here on your board, develop a business plan. You have Main Street Oakland County, develop a business plan. They can help you with a lot of those things. And then building and expanding your market research, looking at that market analysis, information they've already provided, and do a strategy. How are you going to build out? So if 70% of your community is already really just that close-knit area, do you really want to be spending 50 to 75% of your time on those outside of that 70%? It doesn't make sense. You need to continue to spend a good amount of your time in your current market area and start to build a network that grows outward. I would also do an event analysis, and it sounds like you've already started to do some of that, and how your existing events can meet your target audience. And then building out those place-based experiences that kind of ties together. So just going back to identifying key sites for mixed use and housing, like I said, know where what you want, where you want it, what's possible, and the gaps in how you can assist. In your profile, your market profile, include these top items. These are the things that developers are going to want to see. And looking at that market area. So again, 70% of your visitors are coming from Oxford, the township, and Lake Orion. This is where you're going to spend a lot of your time marketing. It is. Now, to grow beyond that, you need to strategically look at, and I think getting a little bit of a deeper dive with Oakland County on that as to what's our next areas that we want to target. Don't scatter it. Be very specific and strategic with that. Just like my pictures. Business opportunities, going back to that, where people are going in terms of your competition, but also looking at what that sales leakage is in terms of fast food, quick serve, and grocery. Those businesses that were desired, that were expressed, and that match up to really your market analysis include that general merchandise and grocery, the food and beverage, quick, fast fresh items, and then retail. So like thinking about clothing, athleisure wear, right? Sports apparel, things that align with recreation. Some sample market profiles that I threw in here that I pulled together for Birmingham when I was there. But that helps to kind of just paint that picture and make that sale not only to developers but also to businesses coming in. When looking at your events, just making sure that you're looking at events from a couple different perspectives, right? When are they happening throughout the year? You don't want all of them to be events that just build awareness and recognition. You might want some that ring the register, right? And then others that are just community goodwill. So making sure you kind of have a balance of those and looking at your schedule. And then also, as I had mentioned about enhancing those existing events to reach your target market. And the one thing that I just noted, just for me personally as a consumer, I love going into websites and seeing what's happening throughout the year. I couldn't see that. I could only see what's happening for the next quarter. And I think that building that consumer base that would come back and repeat and plan out their days, their months, their years, I think they like to see what else is happening within the community. So try to build that out. I know some calendars don't necessarily allow for that, so you might have to do it in a different way on your website. I know I've had that struggle myself, so.
Yeah, it does only give us a certain amount of events per quarter.
Yeah, exactly. So I did put in here what I look at for an event assessment. So what is the goal of the event? Who's your target audience? And that's where you go back. Are we targeting who we want to be going after? And then also setting some goals and metrics that you want to achieve with each event, and looking at those on an annual basis. Some metrics of success for this topic. I forgot to change that one to strategic growth. Sorry, I put it as SMART before, and I changed my mind. But looking at really those businesses that are recruited, your retention rate, and downtown housing options being part of it. All right, so years 1 to 3 on this, I think, is achievable. Depends on kind of where you're at already with the incubator conversation. But, to know that some of the things that you need to do early on is really those analysis items. And then building off that strategy and building some programs that go along with that. Moving on to sustainable organization. So increasing volunteerism, growing business and community engagement, and building capacity and efficiency. So with your volunteerism, just as simply as saying you need to develop a management plan and an outreach program. And sitting down and really talking about that with your organization committee is a really good task for that committee to focus in on. And then also for business and community engagement, and I think this is for not just business and community engagement, but your partnership engagement too. But creating a communications and marketing plan for that, looking at those audiences and really how do you reach all of those audiences. And then building on capacity and efficiency. I think that in order to continue to grow and really sustain what you're doing and be a sustainable organization, you really do need to look at going from 1.5 to 2 full-time positions. And then assigning champions and project leaders amongst your volunteers. That helps to really lighten the load and get leadership in place and grow leadership. So those are volunteers that could grow into becoming a board member down the road. This is all about building future leadership. I can't tell you how many people I've seen come through my volunteer doors over the years, and they've gone on to amazing things. They've gone on to being city and village managers, but it's just that is what DDA is a great breeding ground for building communities and really leverage that. There are areas that I think that can help you. I think it was noted that purchasing was potentially sometimes difficult, so creating your own purchasing policy and procedures in order to do that. And then continuing to provide tools and resources for your boards and committees, training them often, and then establishing a capital improvement plan that will help you really target and align with your strategy with those multimodal improvements. And from that, you can define what funding is really needed. So what do we need to go after? What grants do we need to go after? What money do we need to put aside in order to be able to build for some of these projects? All right, so that was a lot. I'm not going to kind of labor on some of this stuff because I've already said it. But areas of training opportunities, definitely continue to train board and volunteers, committee members about your TIF plan, any policies and procedures you already have in place, as well as ones that you need to build upon, and then financing and budgets. Those are always topics that always seem to trip people up, and anyone who's new, they're just not going to know. You need to tell them. So, couple funding ideas, and these were just things that I kind of pulled off after doing some searching. But AARP actually offers a placemaking demonstration project grant. And then kind of a fun twist on building entrepreneurs in Detroit, Detroit Soup, if you haven't heard of that. But basically they do like a, it's basically like a small little lunch, soup, salad, bread, and invite businesses to come and pitch ideas. So they kind of think of it as like a think tank or a Shark Tank type of an event. But they utilize some of the funding that they collect to put into those businesses, which I think that's the fun part. They like, it's not just $5 to go to soup and salad. It is, $5 or $10 that goes into helping that business get their business launched. Also, building blocks for sustainable communities through the EPA, helping to develop smart growth approaches for their communities. And then the EPA and the U.S. Forest Service also partnered together with the recreation economy for rural communities. And while you are not 100% rural, you have rural components. And I think that there could be some additional planning assistance there that you could potentially pursue, even if it's just planning out, like, well, how do we build more connections, between the Pollyant Trail and here, so. Some metrics of success there too. So your volunteer hours, making sure that you're getting out and visiting businesses, and how many attempts are you doing it? It might not always be successful. We know how busy businesses are, but those are all important things. Again, I think between 1 to 3 years to be able to complete a lot of this, and it's making sure then the committees are focused on these projects and tasks at hand, and building out the kind of the outline for it a little bit more. So as I mentioned before, I'll provide you with a work plan after this, and this will include some of those metrics of success, aligning those, but then you'll just have to kind of flush it out a little further, and then discuss the timelines. My timeline might not be your timeline, and you might need to adjust it, and believe me, I won't be sad or anything. These are just my suggestions based upon what I know is potentially achievable. Other than that, this is kind of a typical action plan sample. I don't know if you already use something similar, but just want to say thank you for the opportunity. It's really been a pleasure to get to know you better. I grew up in Clarkston, so I know Oxford already, but I feel like I've gotten reacquainted and just love what I've seen happening here. So. Any questions that you might have, or anything you want me to go back to?
Looking forward to the action plan and everything sent
Awesome.
through.
Yeah, and I will check up on you guys in a couple of months, see how things are coming along, and see if you have any stumbling points, and we'll always circle back. So I'm always open for a phone call or text. Yeah. Kelly knows how to get a hold of me. So, all right. Well, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was
Very
awesome.
good, thank you.
1 year for everything. Here we go.
Trying to give you a little bit of grace there. Breathing room.
Thank you for the report, appreciate it, nice job. Any items removed from the consent agenda? There were none. Board member comments? I'll start down at the end. Holly?
No. Nothing comes to mind at the moment, sorry.
Kathy?
Baldacor looks great.
Oh, yes.
See
It
many
does look
people
great.
having pictures by the truck, it's great.
Very good.
I'll repeat myself, what I say every
Great.
time. I'm looking forward to all the events coming up. Soup and Sweet Stroll and the Scarecrow Festival, those are two huge ones for the businesses and the community. So very excited about the plans we have for both of those.
Yeah.
I do have a few rapid fire, don't anybody get mad at me. But first of all, kudos for what's happening, the fall updates, and I've driven by a few times in the evening and people have been out playing ping pong, and it just warms my heart to see them using that space, so that's super cool. I was just curious, Wetzel property updates, does anybody know, parking lot, building, we heard anything?
We got a bunch of notes.
What's that?
I guess I know some lots of other items I'll mention a little bit as well.
And then a Good Egg, I wondered when they're opening.
We did chat with them this past week when their sign was going up, and I said, can I please share an opening date with the community? And he said, as soon as we have one, you will know first. And I said, okay, but no opening date at this point.
They're still opening, so that's,
Yes.
that's good news. And then Vinnie's Brunch, I know they needed a lot of work on that building, so I didn't know any
Yeah,
progress
I
is
think he's
made
still
there.
getting his bids and everything, but he's been pretty quiet.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Scott?
Thank you for appointing me to the DDA board. I'm excited to be here, and I'm on the school board in Lake Orion, and it's actually fun opening a board back that's not 350 pages. So, thank you.
I'm looking forward to the action plan. That was very cool.
Mhm.
I would say if you haven't tried Fatouche Restaurant yet, you have to. Food is phenomenal.
Another great month that went by. Everything is going really good stuff. The events coming up in downtown is going to be extremely busy here in the next probably 60 days. So we need all of the board to help support with some of the activities, and definitely on the day of Scarecrow Festival, as much help as we can get would be greatly appreciated from everybody. Thank you for the report today. That was a nice job. Looking forward to that. So, and with that, there was no items.
I think Joe wants
Extended public.
I'm a board member, because I'm not a board member. That's why I sit out there. So, for one, I'm glad to see somebody else using this. We used this screen put up here a few months back at the planning commission often. We haven't really used it at council much. Most of our items are just the agenda and stuff. But I'm glad you see what you said. It's very good.
It worked very well.
I gotta go backwards here, what I had written down, but the Wetzel parking lot came up, the lights were energized like 2 weeks ago. Mr. Wetzel told me that. I had it in my office, him and his wife both last week. We discussed the whole issue about how, hey, we need to get moving now and get it open. It could be a while before all the property redrawing and surveys are done, and then I could get those property combinations and done and approved and down to the county and all that stuff. We don't want to wait for that. We discussed it at the council meeting last week as well. We'd like to put together just a lease between us and him, and then us and the properties, to say we're going to lease this for $1 a year, whatever. So then it can be open. We are on for like liability, right? We know it's open. We're on there to help, cover that end of things. Had that discussion with them last. I think it was Wednesday they were in, him and his wife. Bob Davis hasn't presented me a draft yet to share with him, but that's what we're working on. We don't, it could take a while for the property transactions and all that stuff. The surveyors aren't done yet either. So, working on that. One thing else that the council approved last week was the East Burdick pavement repairs. That's what we're meeting with Rowe again next week in Birmingham to see what will be BSI asphalt. They were a little better, about $160,000 worth of work on East Burdick. That's from Glasgow over to Mill Street. Much of that is in the DDA district. I think about 70% of it is in the district. It's going to be hopefully about a 3-week project, hopefully starting in a couple of weeks. We want to get it all done in October. We'll also apply for that to be in the county road commission's TIP plan, which is 26, 27, 28 years of funding. Not sure, it's not a high scoring thing, but that's the only stretch of roads in the village that's federal aid eligible. That one stretch between, on East Burdick between M24 and Glasgow. So we're hoping to get into the transportation improvement plan at the county level, be eligible for some federal funds like 2 or 3 years down the road, and that'll help as well if we get in there. Well, in addition to the East Burdick paving repairs and stuff, the council also approved about $12,000 of repair work to the church parking lot there, the northwest corner of Middle in East Burdick. You'll see the sign there for public parking when it's not during church service. And there's been some damage and some sinking in around the drain structure, as well as some areas over by the sidewalk. So that was about $12,000. I had that added as a separate item on the East Burdick lot, because again, our street funds will pay for the street paving. these other funds will come out of our parking lot, separate fund, but the council did approve that as well, so it'll all be done at the same time, so that should happen at the same time. Speaking of events downtown, the council approved the Chamber Christmas Parade December 7th. Is that a different weekend than Soup and Sweets, right? Is your,
The day after.
okay, I know it usually was, but I thought I heard a different date, and it wasn't going to be, so, okay, it'll be still the day after as normal. To your strategic plan, a couple things. A lot of people have always wanted MDOT to have more lights, but they'll fight us tooth and nail on that. Coming through this town, there's, 40,000 cars a day, and their goal is keep them moving, right? So it's nice to have those amount of people come through town, but really a lot of them just blow through town south, and they blow through town north, and they don't really benefit like those that you're in the market, in the area that are our true market for our businesses, right? But nevertheless, we have to deal with them. So hopefully, the police officers I know, they do enforcement on there. You can write 1,000 tickets out there, people speeding through here in a day. It seems almost every day in the summertime when I'm coming in, around 7:40 in the morning, there's somebody pulled over northbound up by Market Street. So they got them coming through town. It's probably too busy to get them southbound. Social district boundary, you talked about that, and then we did adjust those, and that's funny about them enabling us to cross the public highway, because that was just when the law first came out.
Right.
That was kind of the unwritten rule. It says here this, we take it as that. So we've always held that as like, well, we can't cross it, but we have two halves. But if they're willing to amend it, why not? People I'm sure probably already have crossed, and we're not
Oh, yeah.
Let's make it legal.
Yes, it all boils down to liability, right? If for some reason we were aware that people were doing that and it wasn't allowed and something happened, then it's, well, why are you allowing this to happen? So by going through that channel, we'll make it better for us in the long run. So liability is usually an underlying thing. We did, when we first did the social district, we amended our ordinance because having alcohol in public was not allowed. And then a year or two later, I think after hearing people at the conference in the park, inquiring about it, because we had it prohibited in parks also. So I think it's only been one summer, now two.
We actually asked for the ordinance to change 2 ago. So this was
So
our
it's been-
second
okay,
full
so-
season
alright.
with it in the park.
So they amended the ordinance to allow it in Centennial Park, still not any other park the other side of town. It's not connected anyway, so it really wouldn't be hard to do, but just make sure it was clear. So they did allow, it was already within the boundaries of the social district, but it was prohibited in that section. So they did go and amend that ordinance to that as well. Again, maybe no one ever had a coffee cup with alcohol in it at the concert, but maybe they did. And then to your other point about the residential developments and things like that, we've had a project that the planning commission last month that's coming back tomorrow night for a 3-story, 12-unit apartment building just in the north block of downtown here. Had a little bumps and everything wasn't quite ready last month, so they tabled it. So hopefully tomorrow night in this very room, a 12-unit, 3-story apartment building will be approved just north of East Street, next to Oxford on the road there. But again, we all know that that's an amenity needed and desired. And that part of town, it's been vacant lots for a long time. A couple houses north of that are just some rental homes, I believe. So that part of town needs some love. So hopefully that goes through. And it's one thing, the planning commission to approve the site plan, it's another person to get their financing around and get it built. So hopefully something.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. And at that, looking for a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second if it needs.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion adjourned.